6th Coffee at the WAC. Today we are very excited to have Seattle's Mayor Bruce Harrell with us as our guest speaker. Give it up for Bruce. The main thing I want to do here today is to let the audience ask Bruce questions. I also have a few questions of my own that I would like to ask. But before we get to any of that, I want to give you 3 to 5 minutes to talk about whatever you would like to talk about, including the mayoral campaign that you're in right now.
Thank you, Bobby. So I'll stand up so you can see me. We're recording. This is my good side. So, so what I thought I'd do is just, for those that don't know my personal story, just put some skin in the game personally, and then that would probably reflect my attitude toward politics and what's going on in Seattle. So and I have some people that I've known for 30, 40 years, so they've heard this before, so you can get some coffee. So I was born here in Seattle, born on Capitol Hill, and my father was an African-American guy that came here with his mom and dad and his 2 brothers from New Orleans, Louisiana. And he attended Garfield High School, and he was in the band with famed musician Quincy Jones. So they went to Garfield, and my mother was Japanese, thank you, Marta, Japanese, who was her parents and herself, her family came from Japan, and she was interned during World War II. You may recall, of course, the internment concentration camp experience during World War II that Japanese Americans had to go through, and she was in the concentration camp as a child, and she came out, and she met my dad when they were 14. And they got married, and they married their entire life, and I ended up going to Garfield as well. And when I went to Garfield, I graduated valedictorian. I was the MVP in several sports, and I was good at football. And so I played football for the University of Washington, and by the way, I'm wearing this. I have to hoist the flag up in about an hour and a half. Wow. We need this victory. I'm hoisting it up at 9:30, so usually I dress a little differently. And so then I went to the University of Washington, played in the Rose Bowl, the Sun Bowl. I was All-American, academic All-American, all packed in, had a good career. Warren Moon played on the team, many of you know him, Joe Steele, we had some great people. And then I went to law school. And it was during the telecom era when before these, you know, your generation grew up with these, I don't even have my phones here, I don't know. Your generation grew up with these things, ours did not. And so we were, I was at sort of the cutting edge in technology and telecom when the infrastructure and the billing arrangements and the shared global infrastructure was being developed, and I was heavily involved in that. And then I met the love of my life. We were in college and we've been together for a long time. She retired from Microsoft after a prolific career, and I decided to run for office very simply because this city has been incredibly good to my family, number one. I was a result of good policies, good people. And Seattle, we have a good hand here. We are leaders in high-tech, biotech, maritime, port, industrial, manufacturing, great university system, great sports, arts and culture. We're a city of innovators. We put ourselves on the world map in 1962 during the World's Fair with the Space Needle being erected, and we said, we will be a leader in thinking, and we're a smart city. A lot of our growth, our good, healthy growth was organic, right people at the right time, also was very intentional about how we are. There's a reason why you end up here in Seattle, by the way. You don't come for just great weather we have today. But you come for the people and the sort of the vibe here, if you will. We have our own vibe. So that's my personal story. And I think some of you know my children. We have 2 sons and a daughter. And my proudest accomplishment is that all of our kids have college degrees, graduate degrees, and they're off the Harrell payroll. So with that, let's talk politics. And I want to thank you, Bobby and Andrew and others. Thank you for being here and for caring about our city and being for the bench strength and the talent that we will need to keep this city on the right trajectory. My priorities are affordable housing, public safety, education, and a few others like climate change, a few other things, but I think that a lot of these questions will be around that. There's an article today on childcare. A lot of you are going to start families, and we can talk about childcare issues and healthcare issues as well. So let's have a good discussion. I look forward to it.
So you gave an overview of your life story before stepping into public life. Skipping ahead to when you were elected mayor, how would you frame for people the state of the city when you got elected and the state of the city now?
Thank you, Bobby. So when I was elected in 2022, and remember, I've been elected 4 times in this city, so I say I'm electable, that's not the issue. But 4 years ago, we'd all wear masks, and you may see the streets were completely cluttered with tents everywhere. Woodland Park, as an example, I went to a cross-country meet last week, and you couldn't use parks like that. We were tense because you may recall on May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered, and we all witnessed that, and so there's a lot of racial tension in the air. Police departments, I lost 300 police officers, and that's from about a 1,400 base, so that's like a fifth of our police department. We have 5 precincts, okay? So that's like operating a city of 800,000 with 4 precincts. That's like playing a 5-on-5 basketball game, and you only have 4, and your team has 5. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna play a zone and force them to shoot the ball outside? I don't know, you're still gonna lose, right? We had a pretty tough times. And worse, the businesses, while we're still nowhere near where we need to be, the businesses were completely shut down, and you just saw drug use and drug dealing in astronomical numbers. That was the hand we're dealt. No, it gets worse than that, quite honestly. We looked at our budget, and I had about $150 million deficit. So I have 14,000 employees. I have about an $8.5 billion budget. We have a strong executive system. So in other words, I don't have a city manager. So I looked at our revenues. They were down, and our costs were up. That was what I walked into. But you know, we don't make excuses, right? We're not made that way. We look at our hand, and we say, let's build. And that's what we started to do. And so right now I'm getting 10 applications a day to our police department. I'll have 4,000 applications a year. We'll be fully staffed here on a second term. We built a care department from scratch, which is an unarmed response to people in crisis, so I don't have to have my police officers come out. We realize now with fentanyl killing and ravaging our streets that you want an unarmed response in many situations. And we removed 80% of the encampments, and we offered people shelter. And you know, this work continues, but I have to remind everyone that homelessness in our country has gone up 18% in our country. It's almost 1 million people. Homelessness in the state has gone up. Homelessness in the county has gone up. We are living in some real tough times, and we're one of the wealthiest cities, which means the cracks have gotten larger for people that in my generation have just been on the edge. Now a lot of them are slipping into homelessness, and the fentanyl that again is ravaging our streets. And so we have a lot of work to do. We have to acknowledge that, but we're smart enough to put all the right systems in place and lay a foundation for our greatness, and that's what we're doing. And I couldn't get it all done in the first term, of course, but that was a hand we were dealt. Yeah.
So many in our group are young professionals and are going to be doing business in Seattle for the next 30 to 40 years. How can you create an environment where people, young professionals, want to grow their careers, and why should they do it in Seattle as opposed to in a different city?
That's a great question. First of all, let me say, as your mayor, I want you here. I want you here. Don't leave. The reason I think that Seattle is the go-to place, number one, the data supports that. We are the 4th fastest growing city in the country, Seattle. We are the largest city in the state. We are the economic generator of the state. And as I said earlier, I'm looking at people that I believe, I told you my personal story about my biracial background, my athletic background, and all this other stuff. I believe here that you guys care just a bit about that issue just as much as I do. You grew up with people that had a different religion, looked differently than you. You're comfortable with it. You're cool with it. Here, we don't tease LGBTQ people by any stretch of imagination. We embrace diversity, different religions, different sexual orientation. Seattle's cool. Look at, you got a cool mayor. It's a special vibe here. And what we do with that then is we say, let's get together and see how we can improve the world. And we can monetize opportunities, but we don't forget where we had come from, who we are. And number two, every major city's trying to claw back from COVID, from George Floyd, where they're trying to figure out who we are. This is the time right now to redefine Seattle. There's a reason why Donald Trump picks on Portland and Seattle. I'll take Portland out of the equation for a minute. We are a global leader here. We trade heavily with Japan. We trade heavily with Korea. We are one of the closest major cities to Korea, and I've been there a few times. And I met my Korean sister here just a minute ago. Where'd she go? She's sitting there. Kay, right? Is it Kay?
Yes.
Okay, just met Kay. If you want opportunity, it's right here. We have work to do, and we're trying to fill up our downtown areas. But you can never underestimate, count Seattle out. And we're not a sterile city. We started as a small-time port city, and look at us now. So, stay here, grow with us. The reason I like opportunities like this is I will tell you that I'm pretty approachable. I work out a lot and I walk these streets a lot and I see people, and some of you know my children. That's pretty cool in Seattle. I see Seattle is huge, but it can get really small when we need it to. And I've been to other cities, you name the major cities, not like that here. Not even like that on the east side. So the coolness of Seattle is we're big, we're a powerful global entity, but we can get small when we have to. And that's another unique trait I think is good to Seattle.
So over that 30 to 40 year period of time that we just referenced, Seattle is going to experience a lot of growth. All the projections say that. We all know that. What advice do you have to this group of young professionals, mostly young professionals, as we navigate that growth and build our careers?
I'll give you the secret to success as I define it. Success could be a good relationship, it could be a lot of money in the bank, it could be good health, however you define success. What's helped me is, because I describe my personal story, is I never saw anyone like me in groups growing up. So that forced me to understand, when I meet you, your story. What are you about? Who are you? Forget about me. I'm more interested in, where did you grow up? And you're raised by a stepfather, or you're raised by a grandmother? Tell me more about that, right? What's helped me is always trying to put away whatever differences we superficially have and get to the core of it. I have what's called relationship capital. And I get out of my comfort zone. And I'll give you a good example. My brother right here is with the Somali Health Board. Okay, what was your first name?
Kasim.
Kasim. Now, I'm going to give Kasim, with love, can I pick on you a little bit, Kasim?
100%.
See that, Kasim? Now, if you saw Kasim, were you born here or in Somali?
I was born here.
You were born here. My roommate in college was Somali, and I learned how to say Skoda. That's one of the things I remember. And he was here when there were only literally a handful of Somalis here. Okay. So when I was in college, and I was on a football scholarship, and I don't even know, every time I said football, he's going like this, like that's football to him. But I could talk to you and be interested in your culture, right? Because I learned that in college, and he passed away, and I was with him to his dying days. His nickname was Piccolo. Okay. My secret has always been to get out of my comfort zone. We have a tendency to go in to be like tribes. It's just a comfort zone. You go around people you're comfortable with, right? I use women as a good example. I go to groups all the time, and the women are sitting over here, and the men are sitting over here, and guys are sitting with guys who just look like them, and I say, if you really want to succeed, get out of your comfort zone. Is it Kasim?
Yep.
So one of you could say, hey, Kasim, tell me more about that. What is the Somali Health Board? What do you do? Where did you go to school? You were born here? Tell me about your parents' story. And you, see, this is something we have to navigate through, because you're used to going to them and saying, hey, tell me more about your life. This is our experience, right? You will find you have more in common with someone, whether they look like you or not. And then you have that relationship capital. And if you really want to make the magic is when you start a business, you get different perspectives, whether it's sexual orientation, gender, race, religion. For example, right now, if I said, I'm going to embarrass you, if I said, tell me about the experience of the Middle Passage. I'm not going to judge by it. You probably wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. The experience of the Middle Passage is probably one of the most brutal chapters in global history on the face of the earth, the Middle Passage. That is the transport of nearly 13 million or 14 million African slaves to this continent, 1/5 of which were killed in the transport. Now, people from my community know about the Middle Passage. But you tell me perhaps about the Holocaust, maybe I could learn that, or about what Irish experienced here in America when they first landed here. There's stories all over this country about what we've overcome. That's the magic. Get out of your damn comfort zone, meet people differently, thoroughly enjoy what they're doing, and this is where the opportunities come out. For example, I know Africa as an example, and I've been to Africa several times. That's going to be the frontier for trading. They are behind on certain areas in e-commerce or cash apps or even rideshare activities. There's opportunities. That's the magic, relationship capital. And that's as you young folks, when you get my age, you have all this relationship capital, different kinds of people in this world, and you'd be successful.
Okay, so now we're going to open it up to audience questions. If you could please, if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll call on you and use project your voice. There's no mic for the audience.
I'll repeat the question too, so they can hear it too.
Okay.